Even though Ray knew he should be going to bed, he clicked on another story about a cheating wife. Were these stories true? Could these things really be done to someone you care about? The story slowly took over Ray's mind and made him question and mistrust people. He realized he was paying more attention to his wife Pamela and watching every move and exchange she made. He got mad when she got too close to other guys while they were dancing, making them uncomfortable. He went through the laundry baskets looking for signs of betrayal. Ray met his wife at the wedding of Sandy's sister. The person getting married didn't tell him that they were swingers. Ray and Pamela got married in less than a year after meeting right away. Kyle came the next year, and Kayla came 2 years after that. The little family looked like it would be great. However, Ray and Pamela rarely saw each other because they had different work hours. There were also Sandy and her husband Bob, who were known to be crazy party animals and live a wild life. Bob had never been Ray's favorite person, especially after seeing him make out with Pamela at their own wedding dinner. He and Pamela agreed not to talk about their past relationships. They were both kind of jealous. It was one day that Pamela asked Ray to fix Sandy's leaky kitchen sink. "Yes, please let me take a look," Ray replied with a smile. "I might be able to do some water work at the same time." Pamela's eyes became hazy. "Sir, don't even think about it." Ray put up his hands to act like he gave up. "Relax. I'm just kidding," he said. But as he walked out the door, he couldn't help but think about the rumors about Sandy and Bob's antics. Sandy had always been a shameless flirt, even with Ray. But he knew better than to risk his marriage over a fling with his sister-in-law, right? When Ray got to Sandy's house, she greeted him at the door wearing nothing but a thin bathrobe and said, "Come on in." Ray's mouth dried up as he said, "Thanks. I'll just look at that sink." He bent down to look at the pipes under the sink in the kitchen, and when he stood up, Sandy was right behind him, her robe hanging open. "What are you doing?" Sandy Ray asked, moving back. "What does it look like?" Sandy asked, creeping up on him. "I want you, Ray. I always have. Stop it. I'm just here to fix the sink." "This isn't right," Sandy said. "Are you going to sleep with me or not?" "Not at all." "Without a question, no. For the love of God, Pamela is your sister. I care about her." "Okay," Sandy spit. "Do what you need to do. If you don't give in to my demands, I will tell Pamela that you tried to force yourself on me. You think she'll believe you?" "Who?" Ray left the house. There was no answer when he tried to call Pamela. That night at work, he couldn't focus because of Sandy's warning and the things that could happen to his marriage. When Ray got home the next morning, Sandy's car was still in the garage. When he went inside, he saw Pamela looking scared and clearly drunk, Bob hurriedly pulling up his pants, and Sandy grinning from the couch. "What the heck is going on here?" Ray let out a yell. As he pushed for Bob, his hands flew around. In the chaos that followed, someone hit Ray from behind. It got dark. Ray woke up in the hospital with a headache, the hammer. Being stood next to Ray's bed, a police officer told him that he had a headache from being hit by a vase. It looked like Ray's claims had been dropped. Bob told them he was protecting himself because Ray had hurt him when he got home mad. Ray's rage was all Pamela could remember. When Ray left for Sandy's house that morning, he didn't expect such a mess. Ray told the officer, "I have nothing to say, you're lucky, Mr. Harper." The officer replied, "No charges have been filed. But I suggest you think long and hard about what you did." When the officer left, Ray's head hurt from trying to figure out what had happened and why he couldn't live with a cheater. He called the police. The phone rang, and it was Pamela. "Do you want me to come get you?" "We need to talk now that we're even," she asked. Ray's blood started to boil. "Anyway, you and Bob slept together. Amy is coming to get me. I'm going to leave now." "Leave?" Pamela started to cry. "Ray, all I wanted to do was get back at you for what you did to Sandy." Ray talked to Pamela about it at home. Pamela accused Ray, "Sandy told me you forced yourself on her." Ray denied the claim. "She came up to me and said she would lie if I didn't go to bed with her. I left right away." Hurt and anger. Pamela's eyes lit up. "Why should I believe you? Why would my sister lie about that?" "Because she's jealous," Ray cried. "Since she and Bob were swingers, they tried to get you involved. Because you let Bob have you, I think our marriage is over." Sandy knew exactly what you two said to each other. But Pamela said, "No, I just did it to get even." Ray's face was scrunched up in disgust. "Your sister is only a whore. I shared a bed with her in high school, as did most of the other boys in our neighborhood. But that was years ago, before I knew you." Pamela had tears in her eyes. "These days I don't know what to believe." Ray said in a cold tone, "Bob isn't the only one involved. Trust is the most important thing. Why didn't Sandy call the police if I had raped her?" "Tell the truth, Pamela. You used me to make your desire for Bob seem stronger." Pamela sobbed, "I love you." Ray laughed and said, "Love doesn't mean sleeping with other people. I'm going to file for divorce on Monday." "Wait, this isn't how it was supposed to work," she cried, but Ray ignored her and packed a suitcase. You can say anything to the kids. I don't want to see or talk to you. Amy can set up. Getting together with Kyle and Kayla. As Ray tried to start over in the weeks that followed, he stayed in cheap hotels and worked extra hours. After speaking with a lawyer, he filed for divorce. Ray once picked up a sick Kyle from school and took him home. The phone rang while they were at Kyle's house getting some of his things. Sandy was the one. By hitting the record button on his cell phone, Ray caught Sandy admitting that she had lied about the attack, which showed Bob's part in the whole plan. After Ray and Kyle left, Pamela sent him a lot of texts and calls to say she was sorry and begged him to forgive her. Ray also missed the chance. She would always think the worst of him and end their marriage so quickly, which broke his trust forever. On the day the divorce was supposed to be completed, Ray signed the papers with a heavy heart. After that, he went to a nearby bar to drink away his sadness. He took place to look around the room and see Bob. All the pain and anger from the previous months came back all at once. Ray lost his temper and beat Bob up until he was lying on the ground in a heap. 3 men grabbed Ray and yelled, "I hope you rot in hell, you son of a bitch." He screamed as they dragged him outside, where police slammed him to the ground and handcuffed him. This time, the charges would not be dropped, and Ray was going to prison. On his one phone call, he called Amy and said, "I really screwed up this time, sis. Don't bother with bail. I'm just going to do my time." It was sad to hear Amy cry as he hung up the phone. For the next 2 months, Pamela tried many times to visit Ray in jail, but he refused to see her. When his court date came, Ray pleaded guilty to assault charges, and the judge gave him 2 years, minus the time he had already served. Ray, Pamela still loves you, Amy told him when she visited. Her whole family is furious about Sandy's lies. And Pamela never signed the final divorce papers. You're going to jail, a married man. The first 2 months were a constant struggle. He ended up in the hospital twice as he fought to prove himself. His cellmate was a lifer nicknamed Killer, who was said to have stabbed his cheating wife and her lover 80 times. He had even killed another inmate the previous year. But eventually things settled into a tense routine. Killer even started talking to. When Ray came home from work on Guest's Day, he was shocked to see Pamela waiting for him. "What are you doing here?" "Ray, I love you," Pamela sobbed as she slid pictures of the kids across the table. "I'll wait for you even though I messed up really badly. Let's get past this if you're still in love with me." Ray just got up and left, leaving Pamela to cry at the visitor's window. Ray heard other inmates talking about how they were going to attack Killer that night. Even though Ray was afraid of being called a rat, he felt he had to tell his cellmate. Killer looked at Ray with mistrust, but he moved slowly. The next day, Killer tricked the person who was going to attack him. To avoid the homemade blade, he hid books under his shirt. Killer's team was all around the attacker, which he took very badly until security arrived. Killer ate his food calmly, like nothing had happened. After that, Ray and Killer became friends, which was a surprise. Killer showed a weaker side when they were alone in their cell, to find out about the kids and Pamela. He talked in a sad voice about his grown children, all of whom lived abroad except for his youngest daughter, Anna. "She knows her mother destroyed our family," the Killer said. "I won't let her come visit, but she writes to me every week this spot is not safe." Killer was very proud when he talked about Anna's bright future as a lawyer. Ray then told the truth about how he felt about Pamela and Sandy's betrayal. "Do you still love her?" "Why the hell not? Look around you, kid. You've hit rock bottom. If a woman loved me enough to wait for me here, I'd be the happiest man alive. But what about the mistrust? The cheating?" Killer laughed harshly. "Take it from me. Don't hold grudges. It'll kill you slowly from the inside out." Ray's words stuck with him, making him think about his own heart. What would he do? When he got out, he would have no job, no future, and no family. It was a scary thought. A month later, Pamela came back to visit. "The kids miss you so much," she said. "Is it possible for our family to get back together?" "I'll do everything that needs to be done." Ray took a break. "I'm sorry, Pamela. But Bob and you are always there when I close my eyes," she said. "I hated every second of it when I saw your face that night. I felt sick to my stomach. I wish I could undo everything." Ray could feel his resolve weakening. But after a few weeks, Amy came over with some bad news. The cars that Sandy and Bob owned were parked in the driveway when she said, "Yesterday I drove by the house." Ray's mind was torn between anger and confusion. Had Pamela been lying to him the whole time? Killer then talked about his past experience as a lawyer to try to help Ray with his parole case. Ray decided to trust the older man, even though he wasn't sure, because he looked up to him. The parole board asked Ray how he had adjusted to life in jail and what he planned to do for housing and work when he got out. In his most honest answer, Ray said that his sister had offered him a place to stay and that his old job was ready to hire him again. "How likely do you think it is that you will go back to jail?" "I never want to see the inside of these walls again," Ray said in response to a sharp question from a board member. member. As Killer made his way back to his cell, he asked Ray about his hearing. As Ray shrugged, he didn't know what was going to happen next. In response, Ray said, "I told them what you suggested. Did you really pull strings to get me to leave early?" Killer laughed. "Kid, you never know. There is one thing I will look forward to, though your weekly pack of cigarettes on my grocery account if you do get sprung early." A few days later, Pamela showed up again. She shook her head and said that someone from the parole board had come by the house. "When are you going to leave?" What did they really want? Ray put pressure on it. "What did you allow them to know?" "Hi, Pamela. Just checking to see if you could live there and how we're settling in. I told them that even though we aren't together, I wish you were back at home." Ray's eyes got narrow. "I think you and Sandy broke up." "Is that really true?" Pamela moved around in her seat. "Ray, I still love her. I don't see her very often. But what about Bob?" Ray spoke up for her. "Seen him not long ago." "Why do you want to know these things?" "Because I can't believe a word you say," Ray snapped. "You said you were done with Sandy, but she and Bob were at the house. Did something happen with Bob again? Is that why you're so worried about me getting parole?" "That's not how it works, Ray." "I can explain, but hold it," Ray snarled. "Tell your damn lover that when I get out." That night, Ray called his sister Amy and asked her to come over as soon as possible. When she got there the next day, he told her everything he had said to Pamela. Amy sighed and said, "Oh, Ray, I'm so sorry. I had no idea things were still so complicated with Pamela." Ray nodded and said, "Okay." "Really? I need to know what's going on. Can you keep an eye on the house and see who's coming and going?" "Of course," Amy told him. "I'll do everything I can to help." As Amy was leaving, she stopped and said, "By the way, the parole board called me too. They wanted to know if you could stay with us if you get out early." Ray's eyebrows went up. "What did you tell them?" "And that you're always welcome. And Kenny's on board too." "Thanks, sister. I don't know what I'd do without you." "Oh, and they also called Mr. Parker about your old job," Amy said. "Really? What did he say?" "He said you can have your old job back." Amy smiled. Months. Ray felt a spark of hope. "Thank you for everything, Amy. I just hope I don't get turned down," Amy assured him. "They told me you'd probably be out by next month, with a place to stay and a job lined up." As Ray said goodbye to his sister, tears came to his eyes. A week later, Ray got the call, just like Amy said he would. He was going to be freed next week. He was sent to see a lawyer instead of a parole officer, which seems odd. Had planned for him to be released early. Ray told Killer he would bring those smokes every week and thanked him sincerely as he packed his bags. Not much stuff. He wasn't sure if the old man had really pulled any strings, but the act seemed like it was worth it. The tears were in Amy's eyes as Ray pulled up to the jail gates. They gave each other a tight hug before going to her place. Kenny said hello to Ray with a smile. "What will happen next?" As they got comfortable in the living room, Amy asked. "I need to call Pamela and set up a time to see the kids." When Ray called, Pamela agreed to let him visit but said she'd call the police if she saw any problems. Ray told her he only wanted to see his kids. The reunion with Kyle and Kayla was sad. Ray got a big hug from the kids yelling, "Daddy, Daddy, you're back." He was amazed at how much they had grown. Afterward, Ray and Pamela were tense on the porch. "What do you want?" She asked warily. "We're not a family anymore. Moving on from my past is important to me. I want to be a part of their lives," Ray said strongly. "These are my kids too. Pamela, just when I thought I could forgive you, you lied to me again." As Pamela ran back to Bob and Sandy, her eyes lit up. "You were locked up, Ray. I felt like I was by myself." Ray cut in and said, "Save it, it's been shared sleeps. I know that. The person you're going after now doesn't. Important to me. But if your kids are around such a disgusting way of life, I'll take them away from you. However, it's not an empty threat. Ray, I would never hurt my kids on purpose. Yes, your stupid Bob has already wrecked our family. I'm telling my kids to stay away from these kinds of people. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk about my parenting rights with my lawyer." Pamela's face turned funny. "Ray, please. It's not what you think." But Ray had already left. He came to a decision. What's important to him now was to change his ways and take care of his kids. The next day, Ray went to the lawyer's office because they had set up his release. He told the front desk worker, "I'm meeting with Mr. A.J. Brady." She smiled. "Miss Brady is almost done." Ray made an angry face. There was no question that the card said A.J. After a short time, a beautiful woman in a sharp blue suit walked up. "Mr. Harper?" She reached out and said her name was A.J. Brady. "Please come to my office so that we can talk about what's going on." In a tight spot, Ray followed her. A.J. said, "I was asked to look over your case by a mutual friend. Your last lawyer did a terrible job for you. Important mitigating factors existed, but they weren't taken into account properly. Why me? Who hired you? If you know A.J. is Killer..." "That's his dad, Dave." Ray was shocked. "Are you Anna? Which daughter is his favorite?" She smiled and said, Angeline Juanita Brady is available to help. Let's now talk about your situation over lunch. AJ told Ray about his parole officer and the conditions while they ate at a quiet restaurant. Ray tried to get to know her better, but she politely told him not to talk about her personal life with a customer. Ray blurted out, You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. AJ turned red and said, Those dimples when you smile, you know I don't date clients, Ray, but I'm grateful. Let's get back to your case. Ray pressed, At least tell me about your legal background. Don't I have a right to know as your client? She hid a smile. Okay, no problem. I've spent years honing my criminal law specialty. After lunch, Ray became completely smitten with Anna. Shall I run into you again? He asked in hopes. She said, Next week to go over some parole paperwork, if you'd like. We can have lunch again. This time as a treat. That sounds great, Ray smiled. Anna told Ray, Remember that this is just business, but she couldn't hold back a smile. As they said goodbye at her workplace, Ray held her hand for far too long. He hoped she didn't think he was some weird former con man. As he was leaving, he told her how much he was looking forward to next week. Anna's secretary gave him a knowing smile as he left. He thought Anna wasn't like most lawyers. They had a meeting with Anna on Mondays for the next 2 weeks. She tried to be completely professional, but Ray felt a growing bond with her. So you're no longer my attorney? Of course I am. Always call me if you need me. If so, Anna, you're getting fired. Why? Because of everything I've done for you so far, even for free. Yes, Ray nodded. I want to go on a real date with you. Dinner, dancing, the whole 9 yards. Even though I work in a factory and am an ex-con, I still want to get to know you. I think you want to too. Ray, though I'm drawn to you, what will other people think? Who cares what other people think? Give me a single date. For once, listen to your heart. Anna let out a sigh. God, I really shouldn't, but okay. Just one date. Also, you dare not hope to spend the rest of your life with me. Ray borrowed his sister's car and went to Anna's apartment to pick her up. She was beautiful in a short black dress. At a fancy dinner and wine, he asked her about her past. My parents divorced when I was 14, she said. My dad has been in prison for 14 years. I was raised by different families, and so were my siblings. They still can't accept their father's actions. It was me who told him his mother was cheating on him. There are times I wish I had said nothing. You're not responsible for your father's behavior, Anna. When you were a child, you just wanted to do the right thing, Ray said. Anna fought back tears. I was inspired to become a better person. When my dad was sentenced to prison, I thought that maybe I could help get his sentence reduced, which is why I chose criminal law. It seems that there wasn't much leeway in his case. In his younger years, he was also a very good lawyer. Even though I couldn't help him with his case, he always told me how proud he was that I had followed in his footsteps. Have you been married before, or is that also illegal? Anna smiled. Both. It was quick, so don't worry about it. Ray, is there another time we can do the heavier stuff? I'm having fun tonight. Would you like to dance? Ray said, I've got 2 left feet, but I'll use any excuse to keep you close. Ray took a deep breath, daring to. While they were dancing to some slow music, Anna told Ray, I don't date much because of my social network. I doubt I would be here now if your dad hadn't sent you my way. Ray joked, Remind me to send him an extra pack of cigarettes. You're the best thing that's happened to me in a long time, Anna. I'll do anything to earn your trust. Just let me know if I ever cross the line that night. As they kissed at her door, Anna was shocked. She looked at him more closely. As Ray left, Anna said, Ray, you should know more about my past if we're going to keep seeing each other. While I was in college, I got married. I got pregnant and hurried to marry. We were far too young. After I miscarried, we quickly got divorced. I chose to keep my last name Brady to avoid being associated with my father, Miller. Would you like to attend our family cookout on Saturday next week, Anna? Meet the kids and my sister. Anna hesitated, knowing it was a big step. Then she gave Ray her first long kiss. Okay, Ray, she smiled, include me. What can I add every weekend? Ray continued to see his kids. They told him that their mom was seeing a teacher named Pat. At first, Ray was worried, but the kids seemed to like Pat and his little daughter. When Ray asked Pamela about it, she said, I'm really trying to turn my life around. Ray, Pat is a good man who respects that you are their parent and knows a lot about you. Ray nodded. Your lies have destroyed us. If you really care about this man, Pamela, tell him the truth. Don't make the same mistakes you did with us. About a mile away from Pamela and the kids, Ray found a tiny apartment with 2 bedrooms where the kids could spend the weekends. He continued to visit Amy's family and have dinners with them often. One morning, Ray asked Anna, Are you going to marry me? Her eyes filled with tears. What's wrong? She said. I'm just thinking about my dad. I'm not going to let him walk me down the aisle. A few days later, Ray was no longer smiling when he saw Anna crying at work. "What's wrong?" When he asked, she carefully added, "I called the prison my dad can't go to our wedding, because that's part of his life sentence. I can't change that." Ray said, "I'm sorry," Anna ripping off her clothes as she cried. Her father had only a few months to live because his cancer had come back. Ray wondered why life was being so mean to this nice guy and felt helpless. He told Anna, "I've been buying your dad cigarettes. That was our deal. Ray, it's okay. He trades them for other things." She told him that he wasn't the cause of this. Ray thought of something but didn't say it to avoid giving people false hope. He left Anna. Killer saw Ray and smiled. "Son, take care of my girl. She deserves more than an old con artist like me," he said. Ray told Killer about his plan, and Killer agreed as long as Ray could convince the warden. The warden wasn't convinced. "Just so her father can attend, do you want to get married while you're in prison?" he asked. "Yes, sir, it had been 14 years since she last saw him. He's running out of time. The chapel will only be needed for the wedding ceremony. For an hour." The warden finally gave in and put strict rules in place. Ray rushed back to tell Killer, who had given him information about Anna's bank account. He told Anna in her office, and her happy tears said it all. "Ray, God, you are loved." When they went to the bank, Anna went to a safe deposit box and found her mother's engagement ring, bonds to pay for the wedding, and a letter from her father. It was a very emotional moment.